In this video, we're going to be looking at over 100 of the best Nintendo Switch Easter eggs. From hunting in major first-party games to looking at the Switch itself, we found some of the best hidden secrets that I guarantee you didn't know. And who better to help me find these Easter eggs than the Easter Bunny! Before we get into the games, let's look at some of the best Easter eggs on the Switch console itself. Did you know that when your Switch is locked, it'll prompt you to click 3 buttons to unlock it? Most people will just mash the A button. But if you click the analog sticks, ZR or ZL, there will be different special noises. A similar thing was done back on the GameCube. Next, the Pro Controller. If you push down on the right analog stick, you'll be able to see a secret message from Nintendo. By removing the top cover, we can read it says, "Thanks to all game fans." If you're a fan of older Nintendo consoles, you might miss the music on the eShop. The Nintendo Switch doesn't have any, but there was a plan to add some. In the files, we can see that there's a file named Background Shop, and after people have uncovered what this sounds like, this would have hit all the right places. Did you know that you can find your Joy-Con if you misplace them? This might be common knowledge, but I completely forgot about this feature. If you go into the controller settings and click Find Controller, the Switch will ping the controller, making it vibrate so you can hunt for it like an Easter egg. Have you ever seen the home button on a controller light up? You might have, but I don't think I have. For the first 2 years or so of the console's release, there was no real use case for the home button lighting up, but it actually does light up when you get a notification on your Switch, like Ring Fit begging you to work out, or maybe a game's done downloading. Now that we've looked at some of those really cool Nintendo Switch Easter eggs, let's start looking at some games. First, of course, Super Mario Wonder. If you played this game, you know that there's no shortage of talking flowers. Some people love them, and some people hate them. But did you know that they actually say more than just their initial lines? Yep, if you stay next to the flower long enough, you'll trigger additional idle voice lines.
It's time for a break. I'm not one to rush. I'm tired. How about you? Sometimes it's nice to space out. I'm a big fan myself. Am I allergic to me?
In the level Downpour Uproar, by entering the pipe you'll find a bunch of coins in the shape of a heart, with Cheep Cheep swimming around them. This is a direct callback to the new Super Mario Bros. Wii, where a similar coin shape can be found in level 4-3, which even has the coin in the middle and the same 2 sea urchins on the sides. During any of the Piranha Plant parades, you'll be serenaded by the supple voices of these walking flowers. But did you know that if you start annihilating these flowers, their voices will leave the soundtrack and you could be left with just the background music? While this might not seem like much of an Easter egg, I think it's interesting. Also, spoiler alert for the end of Mario Wonder, but here we go. During the final boss in Super Mario Wonder, before you've battled the Bowser airship, Bowser greets everyone for coming to the show. But there's a special message for Princess Peach. After Bowser thanks everyone, he specifically calls out Peach and says, "Especially you, my beloved." And a similar thing happens when you wear the Invincibility badge. Bowser Jr. and Bowser both have unique dialogue expressions about how you're not actually there. After completing the final badge challenge, you'll be given the Strange Noises badge. At first, you might not even realize what changed. But if you listen closely, most of the game's sound effects are redubbed with a cappella sounds. But let's move on to Smash Ultimate. Obviously, with a game like Smash Bros, there's a never-ending amount of fantastic Easter eggs, but here are some of the best. When certain characters fight against each other, there will be unique dialogue during the victory animations, like Fox and Falco.
Better luck next time, Falco.
You're off your game, Fox.
All time's over, Star Fox.
Lucina, I hope I didn't hurt you.
On the stage Dreamland Game Boy, if you're in a timed match, the battery indicator on the side of the Game Boy will fade when the game ends. On the Great Plateau stage, if you translate the text on the platform, it says Smash Bros. Trust me, Zelda's my second language. Literally, the Easter Bunny taught me. In Pokemon Stadium 2 and Super Smash Bros. Brawl and Smash 4, there was a house with a picture of a cat inside. Thankfully, the cat is still here in Ultimate. Many people speculated that the cat was actually the creator, Masahiro Sakurai's, but there's no confirming that it actually was. In the stage Umber Tower, players will fight on top of a clock. What you might not realize is that the clock has the actual time on it. It uses the Switch's onboard clock. On the Spirit Track stage, Toon Link can be seen. But wait a minute, he's a playable character. How can he play on the train and conduct at the same time? Well, no need to fear, if any of the 3 links are on the train, he'll be replaced by a different conductor. There's some assist trophies that can't be spawned on specific stages, like the moon from Majora's Mask. It can't be spawned on the stage Great Bay due to it already being there in the background, or Alucard in We Fit Studios due to the mirror. If you know, you know. Some stages have special dialogue for certain characters. For example, on Palutena's Temple, pick can ask for information on any character if he does a certain button combination. They'll just get information with unique character lines, and this is available for every single character. I'll show on screen how you actually do that. This is also possible on the Star Fox stage and the Metal Gear stage if you play with Star Fox characters and Solid Snake. In Breath of the Wild, when you mark somewhere in the distance, you'll see your beacon special text. As we found out with the Great Plateau stage in Smash Bros, this can be translated. The beacon text actually says the phrase, "It's dangerous to go alone," which of course is a classic callback to the very first Legend of Zelda game. Some of the areas on the map in Breath of the Wild have very familiar music. If you speed up some of the mellow songs, you'll hear the tune Zelda's Lullaby when you ride horses. And there's even more music you might recognize when you speed this game up, so maybe record some of your gameplay and crank that boy. Speaking of music, in Tears of the Kingdom, while cooking a variety of meals, Link will hum classic Legend of Zelda tunes to pass the time. While fighting each of the Divine Beasts in Breath of the Wild, you'll hear Morse code for SOS in each of the soundtracks. This is most likely because each of the heroes were asking for help before they were overcome. If you see a dog, don't kill it! Instead, give it food. After giving it food, it'll walk away, but don't panic, it's all part of the plan. If you follow the dog, it'll take you to a rare chest that will only spawn by triggering the dog's magical powers. There's obviously even more Legend of Zelda Easter eggs, but let's keep going on some more first-party Nintendo games. Like Ring Fit. The Joy-Con color in the menu actually changes to reflect the color of your Joy-Cons. That's pretty much all. That's the coolest thing I could find about Ring Fit. In Splatoon 3, you'll sometimes be able to spot Harmony with the Nintendo Ultra Hand, which is an often forgotten toy Nintendo produced back before they were even a video game company and made toys back in the 60s. This isn't the only time Nintendo has referenced the Ultra Hand, as you can see it very clearly in some 3DS games like Majora's Mask Remake and WarioWare Gold. Those games aren't on Switch, but it is referenced in the most iconic Switch game, Mario Kart 8, holding up Mario Stadium, even though technically that's a Wii U game. So boom, Mario Kart Easter egg. But I can't help but think that the Ultra Hand is from something else. Oh, right, of course, in Tears of the Kingdom. There's another reference to the Ultra Hand with one of the new abilities Link acquires being called that. So clearly Nintendo loves the Ultra Hand lore. Anyways, back to Splatoon. Very often in Splatoon you'll find many brand logos in-game parodying actual real-life brands, like Under Armour, Santa Cruz, Vans, and so on. While waiting for a match in the lobby, you might notice something interesting if you go up to this bent screen. Well, if you stand directly below it, you might be able to see a USB-C port. That's because it's a Switch, and this is proven further by going to the sides of the screen and seeing the Joy-Con rail. During the Splatoon 3 boss fight against our boy Big Man, you can see a shadow in the ground, and as you spray him, he gets divided, and you just keep spraying him, and that's pretty much the boss fight. But this is actually a reference to the Manta boss in Super Mario Sunshine on the GameCube, which is apparently a reference to a Stephen King novel, but I won't get into that. And looking at the other Squid Sisters, their names are Easter eggs as well. Shiver is the name for a group of sharks, and Fry is the name for a group of eels. And of course, there's the N-Zap, which is the classic NES gun used in Duck Hunt. Now let's move on to Pikmin 4, which is my personal 2023 Game of the Year. There's 3 mechanical harps, and each of these has their own Nintendo song reference, like the Lullaby song, which is a song that plays by a sleeping piranha plant in Super Mario 64. Or there's the Pikmin 3 theme. And there's even one that plays Song of Storms from Legend of Zelda. There are also, of course, a handful of iconic Nintendo controllers and consoles like the Joy-Con, the GameCube controller, and heck, the largely forgotten Game Boy Micro. And there's even more with a few games sprinkled in. I'm not done with treasure yet though, because throughout your adventure collecting treasure, you will come across a wide variety of random puzzle pieces. But when they're together, it's not just a random picture. In fact, it's the image used on the cover of Nintendo's Dashin' and Friends, which was released back in the DS in 2005. One last treasure Easter egg, which I guarantee see you didn't notice. When collecting all 9 paint tubes, you might have noticed 2 things. 1, each paint color represents each color of Pikmin, but what you probably didn't notice was that the amount of paint left in the tube represents how old that color of Pikmin is. For example, the red one is almost used up because that's one of the oldest types of Pikmin going all the way back to the original game, whereas the green tube is almost brand new because the green gold Pikmin are new in this game. Also, while playing as Olimar on his tablet, the version of the software says version 10.2.6, which was the release date of the first Pikmin. And for the rest of the game, it's 20.0.1, which is the release year. Next is Animal Crossing New Horizons. At 3 AM on Saturdays only, when you look at the TV, it'll go static. And shortly following the static, an alien will pop up on screen. Did you hear that? An alien is gonna pop up on screen at 3:30 AM. Does that scare you? Doesn't scare me. Ah! When hitting a rock for some bells, if you hit it enough and bags come out, it'll play the 1-up sound from the Super Mario series. If you hit a squid, your villager will reference the Squid Sisters' catchphrase, "It's off the hook." The villager will also in some cases straight up name drop the Inkling, and their third text line has them ask, "Does it actually bloop?" Which is of course a reference to the blooper from Mario Bros. Sticking with squids, if you display one, you'll be able to see a pink Inkling sticker on the back of the tank. Another fish Easter egg is if you turn the light on a football fish's tank, it will use its built-in lantern to light the tank. There's also some other Easter eggs that we need to remember, and that's of course the actual Easter eggs. We gotta count it because they're literally Easter eggs. These get thrown around your island by Zipper, the Easter bunny. You Zipper buddy? In the museum, if you go over to the ants, you'll see that they are escaping. Those pesky ants. Or should I say, pesty ants. If you run into Gulliver, you might hear him say some odd dialogue, like, "Please don't put me back to space." This is a reference to his appearance in a previous game where he's flying in a UFO. Another Gulliver Easter egg is when he brings up his cell reception. He notes he hasn't had this good reception since he was washed up at Old Coral Cola, which is the first map you explore in the somewhat forgotten game Star Tropics from 1990. Next we have a brand new release, Princess Peach Showtime. The castle that's shown at the beginning of the game is the same model as the one we see in Super Mario Odyssey. Usually you don't think about the fruit that corresponds with Princess Peach's name, but maybe you should, because her hair looks suspiciously close to a peach. A large majority of Princess Peach's cookies during the baking parts all seem to be modeled after the game Yoshi's Cookie. Chun-Li is in the game. During the second Kung Fu stage, after saving people, you'll see someone dressed in blue with 2 buns and yellow accents. There's no way you can convince me that Chun-Li isn't in the next Smash Bros. I don't want to sound too obvious here, but it's clear that a lot of the power-ups were inspired by iconic films like The Little Mermaid, a singing mermaid that controls fish, or Mighty Peach and the Power Rangers, or heck, Cowgirl Peach and Woody! Mario plus Rabbids. I gotta bring it up, cause Rabbids. During the Rabbid Kong boss battle, the theme song is a more orchestral recreation of the classic song Jungle Japes from Donkey Kong 64. One of Mario Rabbids' victory poses has him pulling out a lute and jamming on it. This is most likely a nod to the creator of Mario, Shigeru Miyamoto, who plays this instrument like a boss. The time machine that the Rabbids appear in isn't just any time machine. It's actually the same time machine used in the game Rabbids Travel in Time. And the dates on the machine have special meanings, like the dates Nintendo and Ubisoft were founded. And the third date, which I can't confirm, could be Ubisoft Milan's founding, which was the studio that produced this game. Next, we got Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. If the player re-enters the game multiple times, Kirby will randomly change color on the title screen. When finding stickers in Merry Megaland, the sticker will play the startup sound from the Wii game, Kirby's Return to Dreamland. Cause yeah, remember when Wii games had startup sounds? I kinda miss those, to be honest. In the Galactonite battle in the True Arena, the music changes based on which character you're playing. If you play with Kirby or Bandana D, these are the songs you get, and playing with King Dedede or Meta Knight, these are the songs you get. The music for Phase 2 of HRD3 is actually King Dedede's boss battle theme from Forgotten Land, which is called Roar of Dedede. Did you know that Merry Megaland is built in the same engine as Forgotten Land and reuses some of the character models and animations, such as the Waddle Dees? In Merry Megaland, Waddle Dees wave back to you when you taunt while facing them. When playing with the jukebox, the music notes that appear are color-coded to represent the different composers who wrote those songs. If you take the names of every world in Megalore's epilogue and put the first letters all together, it will spell out apple. And if you finish Megalore's epilogue, it's pretty obvious why. When Kirby uses Sword's super ability, he has a low chance of pulling out a fish, a golden fan, and a Morphonite blade from Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Flowers change color based on the player color. That's it? That's all you could find? Moving on to Kirby and the Forgotten Land. There are a plethora of HAL Easter eggs in this game. If you didn't know, the HAL that appears in certain stages is a reference to HAL Laboratories, who is the developer of the Kirby series. In Rocky Rolling Road, standing on a certain tree and shooting at a target reveals a hidden staircase which leads to the boxes in the shape of HAL. In Burning Churning Power Plant, there's a wall that you can destroy that will lead to a control room. From there you can unlock a ladder which will lead to another HAL. In the side area of Green Parade, when driving the car, if the timer reaches 86 seconds, a hidden HAL will appear. I guess 86 is a way to say HAL in Japanese. The birds on the very first level are very subtly singing a song from later in the game. Just like in some games like Breath of the Wild, Kirby and the Forgotten Land also has their own language that can be translated using the alphabet. You can see that a lot in the mall and on many signs around the game. One thing you might not have realized is that you can also use the chimney on top of Kirby's house to enter. This is a great way for those who hate doors and love crime. The first letter of every world spells out New World. When you're fighting Meta Knight, you can inhale his sword mid-battle. If you do, he will start using his classic sword instead of the one from this game. There is a super secret alternative path in the Ice World where you can climb bricks out of bounds to access a warp star, which can give you harder boss fights where you have to fight 2 or 3 bosses instead of just 1. If you walk towards Waddle Dees that are caged, they will become excited, and if you walk away, they will become sad. One quick one from Kirby's Dream Buffet, everyone's favorite Kirby game. In practice mode, in all 4 corners of the practice map, there is a cookie that represents each Kirby game that's been on Switch. Next, of course, we got Pokemon Sword and Shield. In the player's room, there is a Nintendo Switch next to the Pikachu doll. What's cool is that the Joy-Con color of the Switch on the desk will actually match your real-life Joy-Con color, similar to what we see in Ring Fit. There's an officer on the 2nd floor of the hotel named Morimoto. Once you become Galar's champion, you can challenge him once a day to a battle. This is actually a cameo from Game Freak game designer and programmer Shigeki Morimoto, who has been involved with the series since the beginning and has actually designed a lot of the popular Pokemon like Mew. Did you know that you might have a counterfeit Pokemon in your party? The Pokemon Poltegeist, which is essentially a haunted teapot. Some of them will have a small blue seal of authenticity on the bottom. Most of the ones you encounter do not have these and are fakes. The dog Pokemon Yamper is styled after a corgi. This is a nod to the fact that Galar region is based off the UK and the late Queen of England was known for her love of corgis. Next we got Mario Odyssey. There are many different pixel characters hidden around the maps. The radio in New Donk City plays the Super Mario World Overworld theme. New Donk City also features Donkey Kong arcade pictures around. Also, street names are named after Donkey Kong characters like Dixie Street and Cranky Avenue. And even the license plate 1981 ND references the date that Donkey Kong was first released. While in New Donk City, you can control an RC car. The music that plays during the RC car race is from the Mario Circuit track in Mario Kart. If you jump on the globe in the Odyssey, it will play Jump Up Superstar. In the Old Luncheon Kingdom, there is a painting you can enter that will transport you to the Mushroom Kingdom. Except instead of taking you to the castle, it takes you to a little island that is called Yoshi's house. When you arrive, Yoshi doesn't appear to be home, which is a callback to Super Mario World and Mario Galaxy 2, where he's not home either. The reason Yoshi isn't home is because he can be found at the top of Peach's castle, which is a callback to Mario 64 where he's found in the same location. Power Moons in the Mushroom Kingdom are shaped like the stars from Mario 64. If you try to enter the secret wing cap level the same way you can in Mario 64, while in Peach's castle, you get a moon star. You can access the courtyard from Mario 64, which shows the ever suspicious L is real text, or so they say. The Hint Toad is carrying a map for Bob-omb Battlefield, which is the first level of Mario 64. Bowser will have specific dialogue for most costumes during the final boss fight. During the final stage, in the darker side of the moon, you'll be able to see a thank you from Nintendo, as the level is nearing its end. Next, we have Luigi's Mansion 3. If you hit to Mario's room, 502, you will spot pizza boxes that say, since 1983, which was a tribute to the year the first Mario Bros. Arcade game was released, which is also the first appearance of Luigi himself. If you don't move Luigi when the elevator stops, Luigi will begin to hum the tune of the elevator music. Right? Easter Bunny? The Virtual Boo that EGAD gives you is a reference to the Virtual Boy released by Nintendo in 1995, which was a commercial failure, and my eyes are still hurting. When you enter an area with a hidden boo, the controller will vibrate in Morse code the word boo. In the grand lobby, the music smoothly changes to include the theme of the character you're standing near. Now a quick Nintendo Switch Sports one. The only way to get the hidden staffer tag is by scoring 50 points playing the tennis minigame while watching the staff credits, which is harder than it sounds. Now let's look at Mario Maker 2. Mario cowers in fear whenever you drag an active burner towards him. Shaking Hammer Bros makes them toss their hammers. When you place warp doors on the stage, you can tap them to make a knocking noise. If you keep tapping it and then stop, someone will knock back. If you keep doing this, a strange version of Mario will appear. This is true for every game type you select, and for each game type, there will be a different version of Mario that appears. The sound made by placing blocks is reminiscent of the music from the specific game that is selected. On the new Super Mario Bros. Ice theme, when placing ground, there will be an occasional snowman that appears, but the model for the snowman actually changes based on the time. Mario and Peach are during the day, and Mario, Luigi, and this weird Goomba thing is at night. And that's over 100 Easter eggs on Nintendo Switch. And it only took an Easter bunny to get them all. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and if you want to see content like this early and possibly play video games with me, consider becoming a channel member. I'll see you in the next one. See you later.